the audience that will hear this, it's important for them to understand the background, my background, where I came from. So, having been an airman initially, then crossing over to the Army, my entire military experience has been in a male environment. And I say that to say male, U.S. only, in units that were doing one thing, and that was delivering firepower. So very focused, and so very easy to lead in those environments when you know everybody is trained to do one thing. You know, everybody has their task, everybody knows what that task is. Much easier. So fast forward, I come to the War College, the Air War College. Coming out of that environment at the end, it was a diverse group of people in my class. You're exposed to the gym environment, meeting multinational partners, joint sister service partners, and it starts getting you to think about the rest of the military industrial complex, the DoD, all of our coalition it takes to go and do war today anywhere on the face of the planet. So I was exposed to it here, which was good. Leaving here, I expected to go into a small 6-man team that was doing special targeting, cross-border targeting in a certain country. Midstream of that, I got redirected. I ended up going into the JTF, for JTF-OR, into a 109-man cell, fire support cell, the J34, to lead it instead. And it was diverse, as diverse as you could imagine, with a lot of professionals currently getting after. So I wanted to train with that team. I knew nobody on that team. We had 9 different countries represented, all services represented, male, female, civilian. And they were my team. They were working for me, trying to meet the commander's intent. I also stepped in at the end of 3 Corps' time there, so I was working for a general I didn't know for about 3 months. So I had to gain credibility with that team because the person that had invited me to come work for them they weren't there yet. They were coming. 18th Airborne Corps, the J3 and the commanding general that had asked me to come work for them were en route. So when they showed up, I had another team. About half of that team swapped out, about half of the team stayed on board just because of the way that JTF was being managed. So how do you get people to do their job to meet the commander's intent in that kind of environment when you are ramping up your application firepower tremendously? So we doubled our application firepower over the course of 11 months.
The person, the meta leadership dimension in which the leader adapts to the person.
Over the course of 11 months that I was there. And a lot of people had a lot of different ideas, especially coalition partners, about how aggressive we should be, what targets we should strike. Lots of, I would say, heated discussions in regards to how long we should stay focused on any given set of targets, our high payoff target list. And so, both with the legal teams and with our coalition partners, so a lot of late night arguing, just to put it nicely, over the direction. While knowing, having clear direction from the commander, you still have to get everybody in line. And within that, rating very few of the people. So when you talk about unity of command, there is no unity of command in that environment. It's unity of effort. That's all you can hope to achieve. And you can only do that if you can take a step back and build camaraderie, trust, teamwork in an environment. So that was my challenge, and once I figured it out early on, that's where I put my effort, outside of just using my subject matter expertise in targeting that I came to the table with. So, everything from something as simple as my Australian officer who wrote in the King's English that used to just drive me crazy when I would read operations orders and be correcting him, and finally I realized it didn't matter. I'm just gonna, the content's what matters. I'll read little things like that, and it makes a difference. It makes a real difference. A lot of NATO officers that were mentally operating off NATO doctrine, but we were fighting a joint fight on a joint U.S. doctrine. It differs. So, trying to get everybody in alignment, rowing in the same direction, and there was nobody that was way out of line, but that was a daily challenge. So how did I do that? A lot of talking, a lot of meeting, a lot of drinking coffee, engaging all the time in small groups. I routinely broke people off, into small groups to talk to them about challenges we were having. Everybody was kind of broken up that way anyways in the J34, multiple different teams doing different things. But I actually set my battle rhythm to have dinner with them, to take them to the gym, to go work out with them. I mean, I spent as much personal time as I could, not only because it benefited me just personally, but it just built trust. Once you get to figure each other out in that environment, it's a lot easier to get people.
The situation, finding the appropriate solution for a given situation.
I spent 11 months there. I extended there. It was a great experience. I worked for, from a leadership perspective, an Air Force decom who was a great guy. He had his own way, I would say Air Force enculturated way of looking at things. While it was a ground fight that we were doing at that point, it had definitely been an air war up to a certain stage, and then once we started having Iraqi divisions maneuver into Mosul, it became clearly a ground war for Army guys. So there were some challenges there with just how we were doing business. Working with my AOC brothers, like I was the point of contact for the AOC when it came to combat plans, strat plans, DCFAC, trying to make sure that the Air Force's intent, the CFAC's intent, and the JTF commander's intent were synced. Because the AOC is looking across the Thistle, and the Army is looking, the JTF is looking short of that. Although we would routinely look across the Thistle in certain areas and create JTF battle space, so that created friction. So, all those are leadership challenges, and most of them, I would say, at the JTF AOC level, those problems are solved at the 05-06 level with a bunch.
Leading beyond,
focus on that
influence in the absence of authority.
And lieutenants and captains that are doing the lion's share of the work. And so another component of this, just as important, is keeping those folks motivated, making sure they understand what they're actually doing, and how they are actually contributing to the war. And so it was a dynamic environment. It's challenging, and it only goes off because everybody was professional trying to do the right thing. I think that's the real, if there's any one key lesson for folks, it's like when you're in this uniform, no matter what country you're from, when you're put in those environments, you have to give trust. It's not just earned, you have to give it as well. And it's not something that's talked about very often. There's some give and take. There are plenty of times when I gave, when I didn't have to. But it's not always, even as an 06 or a general officer, I saw 1 stars and 3 stars giving, not always demanding, but giving in order to achieve that unity of effort. And then you've got coalition partners rotating out all the time. Like my key deputy in lethal fires was a Canadian, and I had 3 of them in a year. And everybody's on a different set of rules as far as coming and going, taking leave, etc. Like you have to, what you believe to be fair and equitable in a normal U.S. Army field artillery unit is not fair and equitable in that environment. You cannot apply your values, your principles. It's not about the things that you've done to that point in your given service, your given profession. You got to balance it against what everybody else believes to be. What's their culture? What is their service culture? What is their how are their commitments to the JTF? Actually, the caveats. How are they written out for all of those folks? Everybody's different. Nobody's on the same sheet of music. So
Connectivity. Leaders negotiate and coordinate efforts of diverse stakeholders.